Okay, welcome everybody to the VOBoss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, along with my VOBoss bestie, Gabby.
Hello.
And also with us for a news-breaking boss event, we have Matt Dubois, the owner and founder of the Voicecasting Hub and a really new venture, which we are so excited to talk to you about. Matt, thanks so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is the first podcast this year, and a few more going, but this is the first one.
Oh, and it's us. Yeah.
I know, right? I love it.
I feel honored. I love that.
I love it. So Matt, tell us a little bit, because I feel like we should probably give a little bit of a background, because you've been a guest on our show. Prior to that, when you were like the pioneer of this amazing site called the Voicecasting Hub, with a new, coming in to help our industry out in the midst of possible troubled times. And so tell us a little bit about that venture and how it's going before we get into your new venture.
Cool. It was almost a year ago too that we did this, almost like to the day almost. That was something that kind of just happened. It was just kind of like a reactive thing that was a business decision. Talking to Jules, my wife, and ended up talking to a bunch of agents and launching this thing in a few months, and just kind of turned it into a real viable alternative for a site that had just shut down. And it's been humming along, pretty good, and been successful over the last year. We did over 1,000 projects in 9 months.
Wow.
So,
that's impressive. So essentially what Voicecasting Hub does is what?
So Voicecasting Hub really connects seasoned producers and high-level producers with voiceover agents. We have like 102 agents on the platform, which is basically like 95% of voiceover agents on there. And the producers are just connecting with them and submitting their talent and doing everything from posting the project to collecting the auditions from on the site and submitting them and reviewing them. It's kind of an all-purpose, full ecosystem for high-level voiceover casting. Yeah.
So it was much needed. We had kind of a panic and a lull, right? You showed up in the industry. And,
yeah. It was, I looked at the previous site, and it was in need of a refresh and an update too, I think. So
big time. And you took all of your technological background, IT background, coding, all of this great stuff, and brought it into our industry, which is amazing. I mean, Ann and I both, big fans of anything that moves a platform forward and refreshes. And now, you kind of threw us all a curveball and introduced something brand new.
Yeah. If you're trying to say I'm a nerd, then that's that.
Nerds are
I'm definitely a nerd. Yeah.
Love nerds.
I'm the nerdy one, and Jules is the beautiful, talented one. So that's kind of how we balance each other out. So the Voicecasting Hub is great, and it's here to stay, and it serves a great niche in the industry. But like I said, it's kind of reactive. It's just something that came up, and it seemed like a good opportunity to help out, make a few bucks, and do something good. Score some points with the misses, but it was ultimately just kind of reactive. I didn't know really anything about the industry, and over the course of the year that we've been up, I've got to meet a lot of awesome people, and from agents to talent, and just talk to tons of people and really get to know not only the people that make up the industry, but the business side as well, the casting side, and I just saw some. I saw some bigger holes that need to be filled, and more opportunity, not just from the business standpoint of the casting side, but more opportunity for everybody if we could do something right. Because I think there's some people that were doing some stuff with good intentions, but their business plan lacked, and I think there was those others that weren't perceived well in the industry that had actually a great PR and marketing plan, but did some things wrong, and Yeah. So I thought, why don't we have a savvy business and marketing plan and good intentions? Because I don't think was really something that I saw complete. So that was kind of what started the conversations.
So there has been, for talent, I can speak on behalf of talent, and for agents and casting, there has been a certain disruption, shall we say, right? Disruption.
Yeah.
where really, we didn't have a lot of choices, really, as to where to go to get work and also to find work. And so I think the Voicecasting Hub started the process of solving that issue to add another, like, as you said, added the good intention plus a strong business plan, which I think is so important. And that is, you're right. I myself, and I think Gabby would agree, if we are looking at the players in the industry, they weren't always combined together. And this was a really great option. And I really think within the past few months and this past year, I think it's gotten even more like chaotic, where where we have some players that they're rearranging their platforms, and it's got everybody up in turmoil. So that's why we are so excited to talk to you now about your new endeavor, which I think is really going to be yet another pioneering, great answer for us in the industry. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. And you know what? The funny thing is there's a lot, it's a little extra crazy out there right now. And I certainly didn't time that, but you know, and I'm not, you know, hoping anybody fails here that's fighting the good cause. But there's a part of me that's, as a casting site owner, that's about to launch, that's I need to send another one of them a bottle of champagne, because they're practically just pushing people over to us.
And that's the thing too, you know, pay to play has become such a dirty word that now we're looking at, this is a reinvention. This is a new era for it. And I mean, we totally want your take on this and all of it, what you're hoping to accomplish, everything.
So we're trying to stay away from the word pay to play, just because of a lot of the negative connotation with it. And how I kind of look at it is, let's tell you a little bit more about the platform, is it's like calling Apple a computer company, right? And well, they used to be called Apple Computers till 2007. They realized they're much more than computers. There's a philosophical and technical change, a legal name change, and they're just Apple, right? Because they're a music company, a media company. There's so much more. Do they make great computers? Yeah, but they do so much more. And will be a site that talent can pay a membership fee and get jobs on. Yeah, but it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more. So that's kind of where I stand on that term. And so what do you want? Where do you want me to start? What do you tell me? Kind of how the plan, the buyer acquisition strategy, talent, what we're doing. Well, where do I go?
In a nutshell, you've got a new site. You've got a new site called Voiceoverscom, which serves who? Tell us a little bit about.
First off, I think it's the best darn domain out there. So
it's a great domain.
What I wanted to do was I looked at the data, being the nerd, looking at data analysis and looking at the market. I saw that Voicecasting Hub was doing well for seasoned professional voice buyers, but I saw that we weren't doing enough for non-professional voice buyers or new professional voice buyers. And the demographic for those are mostly millennial, Gen Y, Gen X. And the site just didn't resonate with them. And they grew up in like the Uber generation, an on-demand world. You know, they expect to open their phone, press a button, know exactly what car's picking up at what location. They don't have to put anything in other than just press a button, and they're going to know how much it's going to cost to go wherever they want to go. They go and stay in somebody else's house for a week too with just another press of a button. You know, Airbnb. So this was the kind of new buyer, the new professional buyer that was going to have 20 or 30 years of buying power, because the market, you know, advertising's changed a lot. You know, brands like McDonald's and Toyota, they're still using these large national advertising agencies, but a lot of them are using smaller, regional, and local, because they're really focused on some grassroots and hyper local advertising. So they're hiring agencies that are connected to the community better. And we're seeing more video games and mobile apps and, new media companies pop up, and all these buyers that are just entering the market. And again, these would be professional buyers. A lot of them don't know that voiceover talent has agents, frankly. And that, it was tough for agents to hear, and someone to disagree, but it's, the fact is, there's a site out there whose core business is just getting buyers from Google, right? That's their bread and butter. And because what happens is if this buyer profile, this millennial, Gen Y, Gen X, if they don't know what to do, they're going to go Google it, right? They're go, how do I hire a voiceover? And so now we know who this buyer is and where they're going, and how do we get there? How do we get on top, right? Voicecasting Hub, hire a voiceover. If you search that, Voicecasting Hub is on the first page. Agents don't even come until the fourth or fifth page. So these buyers, they're just learning, they trust Google and the results they get. And the first thing they're learning is those first 2 links they click. And that's all that they're knowing. And they're using that knowledge for the next, 20 years. We needed to get up there. We needed to attract these new buyers, not just service, the seasoned professionals. We need to keep servicing them, but we need to get in earlier and educate and create a platform that works for this buyer who's actually very technologically sophisticated, right? They have high expectations of what they expect in an online site. And
if I could just for one second, just commend you, number one, on really honestly eyes forward. I think Gabby and I are always talking about this, eyes forward to the future, looking at the buyer. That is just so much love right now for that, because that is such a smart strategic way to try and really, create something that is going to help the buyer of the future. And I think tuning into how they buy and where they go, and maybe the first step is Google, right? Go to the Google search, and that's maybe they don't have a background on an agent and how to hire a voiceover. So I think that's absolutely where I have to start. And I just wanted to kind of reiterate how brilliant that was to our listeners, because that really is where I think you've got to be smart and strategic and be able to get in front of those buyers as best you can. And this sounds like it's an amazing start to do that. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a proliferation of these new ad agencies and these video game companies I'm talking about, right? So there's more buyers now than ever, all over the place, and that's where they're going to find information. So, like it or not, or understand or not, that's just a fact. So we needed to be there, and I think the people that were there, where all these new buyers were. Not all of them, but speak generally, weren't doing the best for the industry. I think they were cause of a lot of rate deterioration or, issues with quality. And I think while some of them had great buyer experiences on the front end, I think a lot of it actually fell apart after money was turned over. So I'll talk about kind of how I addressed that and the buyer experience. But getting there, like, how do we get these people? I mean, we know where they're at, we know who they are, right? We know where they're going. That's kind of the easy part, right? And how do we get, it's not so easy just to get to the top. So I tracked down the gentleman that owned this domain and talked to some of his agents, and be able to part with some cash and convince him to give me this domain, because it was the only way that I knew that this would work. I couldn't, another domain wouldn't work, because again, knowing this buyer profile, I use a lot of car analogies. I'm a car guy, right? If you're going to buy a Lamborghini and you never bought a Lamborghini before, you're going to Google, like, where do I buy a Lamborghini? Right. And if Lamborghini.com pops up, Lambo123.com or Lambos.com, which one are you going to? Which one has the most credibility? Right. And that's it. It's like, we have to be, these buyers don't know anybody, they don't know the difference between things. And it's all about the first impressions and who has the most credibility just with that brand. So I think it was a lot of instant credibility, and we're spending a lot of money. I hired a full-time copywriter that's working on not just valuable blogging content for the community, but for SEO purposes and social media. So that's going to help build our organic presence. And I set aside $250,000 just for digital advertising for the first year. Anywhere from $18,000 to $20,000 a month we're spending just on AdWords. I know that, hire voiceover search 80,000 times. I know that those clicks cost between $4 and $11. At an average of $7 a click, we're getting 2,600 clicks. I know that if we're converting one of every four, we're getting numbers in, and that's where we need to be, and that's how we need to get the clicks. And it takes more than good intentions. It takes good intentions and some marketing savvy and some cash flow to be able to do that. So
I think it also takes what's right behind your head.
That's incredible. And wait, you're so modest.
A little bit of craziness too.
If I could just say, literally, can we just rewind that?
Okay, yeah.
How much did you say? That is insane. That's to put that kind of cash behind, advertising, right? And getting up there on top of the Google charts. That's fantastic. Yeah. That's a lot of money, which is fantastic, especially for those that were trying to figure out who's captured that market right now. And there is a lot of money in capturing that SEO. And so I think that's phenomenal that you have that kind of money to put behind it. And I think that really, if you think about it, and I know that I've thought about it for the past few years, and I know Gabby and I, what is it going to take, right, to get there first?
Yeah.
And kind of money. And some good strategy.
Yeah, I'm anybody that knows me, I'm very analytical, again, a nerd, but I'm also hyper competitive, right? So I don't get into it. I don't jump in anything without running a lot of numbers, knowing the odds, and I'm not playing unless I know I can win. So there was a lot of factors that had to come into place. I wouldn't have done this if I didn't have the domain, because I mean, another domain, it wouldn't work. I don't want to mention any other names and talk bad about them, but they won't. Some of those domains don't resonate with buyers. The term VO isn't a term that most people outside of the industry know, right? You can't. You need to speak to these buyers, and then after you get them on, you need to provide a good experience. And that's one thing I'm really proud of. I don't know if you want to, if I could just talk about Decipher VO, or you have a question first? Or?
No.
Oh, cool.
Go ahead.
So, nerd moment again. I'm obsessed with user experience, and I built this algorithm, which is an AI driven wizard for the buyer experience. Some of the sites have this long form that you just fill out this information, and at the bottom it says, "Hey, your rate's $1,000 to $10,000." Right? And I'm no fool, but if I go to a car dealership again and they tell me I could pay $1,000 to $10,000 for this car, they're getting $1,000 and I'm getting off that lot. It's not because I'm trying to screw anybody over. I want a good value, and they told me that's what it is. And then these people that paid this can get 800 auditions, and that's not fair to the talent, because they're not going to get listened to. You might as well just throw your audition down a dark hole there, and it's not a good experience for the buyer, because you're trying to find a needle in a haystack at that point. So what I did was I built this thing. I branded it kind of separately because I'm trying to work with the SAG, which is a whole nother story. Because I want them to be, it's a long story, but I've offered them to use it for free. And what it is it's not a rate guide, but it's a rate calculator. And our page is written in HTML5. So based off some weighted factors like your IP geolocation and your credit card billing zip, and the questions that you're asked and who your profile, what's that?
That's pretty killer. I see where you're going with this.
So, it'll ask you questions, and the second question you get may not be the same second question the next person gets, because of who you are and where you're at and how you answer these questions. What's going on in the background of this algorithm is cross-referencing a rate card, right? And it's then presenting another car reference here. It's presenting like a no haggle price. That's like CarMax term, right? Here's what it is. So instead of saying this is from $1,000 to $10,000, this is $2,200. So it's like a found $1,200. And, you know, I know buyers will go for this because they really want a good experience. And, you know, people care more about value than price. You know, price is a factor, but when you lead with value, price is a secondary conversation. And if that wasn't true, then there'd be no Lexus because of Toyota. You know, there'd be no Infinity because of Nissan. And I could come up with a million more car references, but I mean, it's all, lead with value. Yes, that with value. And that's in every industry, in every business. So and then they could choose how many auditions they want to receive in return. And that's how actually talent know, because if you see this audition and you submit to it, you know, it'll get heard because the buyer said, this is how many I want to see, right? Or listen to. And that's it. So if it's on your board, then they're going to listen to it because they're not going to ask for more than they want to listen to, which is typically between like 100 and 300. So, but that's it. It's just easy. I mean, that's the equivalent of Uber, right? You press a button, it asks you a few questions and it tells you, here's what it's going to cost. And then magically within an hour, you know, amazing auditions start coming in, and you didn't have to cross-reference a rate guide. And so we've maintained a really good buyer experience. So
you've developed an AI engine for voiceover rates.
Yes.
How amazing is that? Like, I'm just going to put that in like terms, because I mean, we're all nerds here, but again, I'm going to reiterate, that's an AI engine for voiceover rates. So that's brilliant.
Thank you.
And then ultimately, I assume that if you said SAG is another story, that it's got something to do with that as well, which I think is brilliant.
I'm trying, you know, I've offered it to them, right? The reason why I kind of branded it its own thing to decipher VO rate calculator is, well, it could be used for other types of casting, but again, it's not a rate guide. It's this wizard, right? This AI wizard, and I want to license to them for free to use, really, because honestly, most of the issues that buyers have with SAG or the union is they're just, the technology's not there, and it's hard to decipher their rates and stuff like that. So if we could, I've offered to do what I can to help advance our technology and hopefully make it easier to encourage more union jobs to go as well. But they don't. I think they're not. You know, they're not as interested as I was shocked. So if they're listening, if somebody there's listening that gets it, you know how to reach me. I'm giving it to you, so I'm not asking for money.
So if I can just, I don't want to stop you when you're on a roll here, but I do want to say, so outside of being in good favor with your wife,
that's a big one,
right? And that's a huge thing. I get that. What is, so, and doing something great, which I think is amazing. There's something going there for you. I mean, people are probably going to say, so what is, you know, every other like thing that's been thrown at us has been like, oh, is it about the money they're going to make? Is it about, you know, people are going to say, well, what's in it for him? So what, if I were to say to you, what is in this whole, like, because this is an awful lot of work. You've developed a separate engine, right? Just for a whole new website. So what's in it for you guys?
Cool. I'm by no means like claiming to be a saint. So there's some financial gain in there as well. The good thing is I'm really transparent with the fees and actually where the fees go. Like your membership fees go to operational cost development, support, infrastructure, hosting. The fees on the project, you know, there's no fees to the buyer. Fees on the project go to continue to feed marketing and trade shows. You know, we're the platinum sponsor for VO Atlanta and the mobile sponsor. We're working on, we've secured 2 buyer trade shows so far, and we're looking at 3 more for this year. So, and there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of money, and I've kind of really laid that out if you go on the site where all that money is going. But my philosophy really is, you know, I'd like to make good money doing good things. I'm not in there to make great money off the backs of people, screwing people over. That's not my thing. And this isn't my primary business. I have Cloud9. I'm in my Cloud9 office, which is really kind of the source of the funding for this and my software projects that are full-fledged businesses, but I'm not, kind of the point, I guess, is I'm not trying to squeeze every nickel and dime out of everybody that I can with this, right? Like if it makes some good money and it's doing a good thing, then it's pretty easy for me to support with my existing infrastructure. So it's complementary to what's already going on here.
Nice.
So that works.
Yeah.
It would be harder if I didn't have that infrastructure in place already too. I think it would be more costly.
And you know what? I really appreciate you saying that, because I think there's a lot of people who might have asked that question, right? And so, hearing your answer to that really just elevates everything. So yeah, I love that it is something that, you were able to support the existing infrastructure, which is phenomenal. I know a lot of people who have great intentions, but just didn't have the funding. That wanted to do good things that just don't. It's so difficult to get the funding as freelancers, right? So it's really great to have a business that's willing to kind of help us out in the industry. Like
I had a talent yesterday say, "I saw your Facebook picture. Where did you get the money?" And I laughed. I was like, "What?" Like,
where did you get the money?
I was like, "Thanks." I don't know what that means. I don't think it's a compliment. I laughed, but it was it's funny enough to share. I'm not going to name names. So.
So tell us a little bit about if you're a talent. Can we sign up? Is it available now?
So we have an application process. Part of the deal with being able to provide value for both the talent and the buyer, and a good experience for both, is I want to make sure we vet the talent, so we're just not letting anybody with a credit card, because again, I think that would contribute to kind of some of the deterioration of the rates and just the quality in the industry. So there is a certain voice quality and skill level threshold to join. The other part is if there's a fit. Going back to the numbers with the data that we have from Voicecasting Hub. I know these are numbers to start, and these numbers will change throughout the year and grow, but I have some data to start. So I know that right now we get 56% of our projects are for men and 44 are for women. I know what percent go to British accents and Spanish accents, and 30 age range and 40. So the roster will reflect those numbers. I had another talent ask, like, is this going to be fair? Is it going to be 50% women and 50% men? And I said, well, yes, it's going to be fair, but no, it's not going to be 50-50. I'm trying to solve some of the problems in the VO world, not like the greater. I'm not out to solve gender inequality right now. Just if I could get you some more jobs and better pay, then I feel like then I'm doing good. But I wanted to make sure that. And as those numbers change, the roster can adjust, and as more volume comes on, we can allow more members, but the volume will have to justify that. But it's all it's based like I want everybody, Spanish accent, male, female, British accent, 20s, 30s, teens, 40s, 50s. I want everybody to have the fair amount of jobs so they get the value and equally competitive, right? I wouldn't take 100 native Mandarin Chinese speaking talent, even if they had phenomenal demos and auditions, because I wouldn't be able to support the volume. So that's why we're just not letting anybody sign up, because if I can't return the value, give you a return on your investment, then I won't take your money. This is a recurring revenue business, which is like Cloud9 and other companies. They're all recurring revenue businesses. And one of the things that is like your biggest enemy in recurring revenue business is attrition, right? And losing subscribers, getting that new subscriber costs at least 10 times more money. So if you again lead with value to those that are your subscribers, then they renew, and you save massively on marketing costs and operational costs. So make sure to have a healthy ROI for everybody, so you don't have to start over again constantly. So that's kind of our model. Yeah.
Good stuff. How are you making this easy for casting? talent. So what about for people, submitting jobs?
The how are we making it easy for that? We use a lot of the core software in Voicecasting Hub. So there's a few things that that we're doing. It's easy to submit, and everything's kind of handled through the site. So it's a full ecosystem there. There's a couple of cool features we have built in. One of the things that I know that's important, a lot of people ask, is actually like communication. Can the speak directly to the talent and vice versa? We're using a chat system that's actually based off the source code from Slack, which was an open source project from a college. But we're using basically that chat system's integrated to our platform. And talent can talk directly to the buyer only if the buyer initiates the conversation, right? So if the job's in like a hiring phase and the buyer listens to your audition and they like it, but they want like some modification, they can, there's somebody else on there. If the buyer wants wants like a different read or something the other way, they can initiate a chat, and then the talent can talk back and forth. The talent can't initiate the conversation with the buyer though, right? Otherwise they'd be like me. And if they hire you, then that's considered initiation. So then buyer and talent can talk, and they actually have their own chat room there to share the files and all that. And there's actually the option too, is after you're hired, if there's changes in the project, the talent can actually generate an additional invoice for any custom add-on work that happened after. So we can just kind of make it easy for them to submit, get paid. We collect the payment up front, and once the project's complete and signed off, which the buyer has 10 days to do, then it's in your account via ACH or PayPal 48 to 72 hours after. So easy breezy. You're on mute.
That's pretty fantastic. Wow. So I know that there's a lot more to come with this, obviously, as the next kind of phase of this rolls out. But for the time being, so voiceovers.com, everybody can go take a look, check it out. How are you guys handling things like customer service right now with talent? Because I know people are going to have a lot of questions, right? We know that this is inevitable. What can we tell folks about that for the time being?
Cool. If you're a talent and you have more questions, or if you're a skeptic because you think it's just another site, the P2P site or whatever, I invite the critics and the skeptics to actually call 888-212-2140, or go to the website and start up a live chat. We have 12 staff here that are just handling support and taking care of that. So it's there'll be people that answer. The toughest critics I talk to personally. I try to stay pretty active on social media, and I don't hide from any like tough questions. I actually welcome any fierce conversations that need to happen. And if you're on the groups, you'll see some of the toughest critics. I say, before you form your opinion, call my office, have a conversation with me, and then come back here and tell them what you think. I'm not gonna ask you what to say, but if I change your mind, come in here and say, I was wrong. He's a good guy. This is the real deal. Or come back on and tell him I'm a crazy scam artist. I don't know, whatever you feel, you go for it. But that's worked well. I try to be as accessible as possible and make sure that everybody's calls get answered. If it's not, they have amazing staff that take care of all that. So.
Well, fantastic. It looks like it's a great start. Thank you so much for talking with us today. I'm loving this. You guys go to voiceovers.com. And yeah, I like Matt. Bring it on. Matt's like, bring it on. I love that. You've got a lot of resources allocated to make this a success. And yes. Gabby and I'm sure we're both like extremely excited about this. And I think that the community will be as well.
Yeah, and we were inspired. Actually, our site was inspired actually by Gabby's hair. So, little known fact.
There you go. And Boss Blue.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad I could be a muse for you. That's awesome.
Right?
Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're super excited. We can't wait to see where this goes. And we appreciate everything that you're doing right now for the industry.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. I'm going to see you in Atlanta.
See you in Atlanta. All right, guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.